Hello everyone, this is Debabrata once again, and today I'm planning to take a class on inheritance. And inheritance is the chapter from where most frequent interview questions can come. So there are too many lots of questions I will say means for the interview round. It will not come into your programming round, but yeah, it is one of the richest chapter from where the frequent interview questions come. So today, obviously, we will check what is inheritance and what are the interview questions can come from this chapter. As a prerequisite, I can say like the basic knowledge of class and object will be needed. What is class, what is object, and how they behaves. So if you are following my playlist, then it is totally fine. If not, if it is your first class and if you have simple knowledge of class and object you have, then it's fine. Otherwise, I will request you the just to follow the previous class, just only the previous class, and I think that will be enough. So nothing much is needed, nothing critical you can find in this chapter. So everything will be going to smooth. So today we will check very, I think six different small topics we will check today. So as a topic one, I will show you how to inherit a class using simple examples. So whenever it is asked during the interview, I have seen people are giving, if I ask, suppose in the interview round, if I ask someone, some candidate, like, okay, give me one example of inheritance, I have seen they are using many examples, many tough examples, but I couldn't find the reason why they are using the tough examples. If it can be presented in a small examples as well, I really do not know. So today I will be showing you how you can give this example very easily. And believe me, in my lifetime, I have never just remembered those definitions. If anyone asks me what is inheritance, I just really, I'm not telling a lie. I just really given the example means I have presented that inheritance with some example. That's the thing I have done because I never remembered the definition. But yeah, for your interview, you might need to remember the definition for a few days, but I never did that though. But yeah, apart from that as well, obviously the interviewers will not come for like how much you can remember. So they are not going to check that. They will be checking your understanding, your knowledge on the concept, so that they will be checking. So they might ask like, okay, give me one example of the inheritance. So here, suppose if I define something called class A, simple class A, and I can define something like int x equals to 10. A very simple example. Now, if I create an object a obj new a, and I can, if I simply can print and say obj dot a. So if you can remember the last class, like the bank class we have created, and in every class I will take that reference. What is class and object? I will always take a reference of the that bank class, because in bank is a class, and that is written by some developer, the bank class. And whenever some new users open the account in a bank, we just create an object to them. So it is a similar thing. It is a class with a variable like balance that we had in a bank class. But here as well, it is a simple class, just only having one variable. I'm just creating an object of that, and I'm trying to access that variable. The variable name is x. So if I compile and if I run, so it will print the value. What is happening? Sorry. Okay, sorry, I have to click on that here. Why it is okay? I have written something wrong probably inside. Sorry, it will be string out. Sorry for my end. Yeah. So if I run this, it is a very simple program. So you can see it's 10. That thing we already should know. If we know that part, so we can try to proceed. That is a concept of the class one. So now if I proceed to check the inheritance, let me create another class B. And now if I create that object for B, very simple example you have to use. And that is the challenge. We have to use very simple example, the simplest probably. So I have created one class of B, and whenever I'm trying to compile, it is giving me the error. It is saying B doesn't have any X. It is quite normal. B is empty, I can see. how can it hold some variable? So obviously obj dot will not be there. There is nothing called X variable I can find inside class. It is totally empty. But what is inheritance? If you want to find it just by writing two letters, you can just write something like this, extends A. If you add this phrase, extends, so it will just take everything from the class A. So it means class B takes everything from A. So now obviously X also it will take from A. So whatever written inside class A will be taken by B. So it means extending, class B is extending A. So now class B, if I compile, it will not give any error. You can see because X is taken by B as well. Obviously, I can create the object of A anytime and I can print obj.x. Simultaneously, I can print the object of B as well with the variable X because B currently possesses the variable X because it has taken everything from A and it can take everything by A by the property of inheritance. If you write the syntax, if you write the syntax extends. Okay, let me compile and let me run to check if it is really running and if it is really printing 10 or not. Yeah, it is printing 10 and that is exactly being called as an inheritance. If you are taking something from a different class. So if I proceed, as it is saying like how a subclass inherit a superclass and all its property. So here, when I was a child, I thought this class B, I thought it as a superclass because it is behaving like a Superman. It has more power, but no, in reality, it is no. Class B is being called as a subclass because class A doesn't require anyone. Class A is strong enough. It can do its work. But class B is someone who needs the help from class A. So suppose the developers, like an example, suppose scanner class is strong enough. We need the help of scanner class. So we can extend the scanner class. So scanner class will be the superclass and our class will be the subclass. So class A should be written in a good way so that other class will be looking for them. So class A here will be like a superclass. It can be called as a superclass. It can be called as a parent class. It can also be called as a base class. And here subclass, it can be called as a child class. It can be called as a derived class. So the interview question can come like if I try to note it down, what is inheritance? That is the most common question come. And apart from that, they can also ask the meaning of extends. Say third thing they can ask like what is superclass and subclass? Or they can ask like base and derived or parent or child. They can ask anything. So they can ask what is superclass, what is subclass. So those are some important questions. And you can present it, apart from definition, you can present it with this simple example. The simplest, I will say. Okay, so now I will check. I have already checked like how it take the variables from other class. So in a class, we have only three things: variable, functions, and the constructor. So now next I will check how it takes the methods. So method means let me create some method quickly. Void math. So suppose I'm writing only hi, just a hi, simply a hi. So there is no need to give some tough example. So just here I will write obj.math. So B has nothing. Look, B has nothing. B has nothing, but it is taking everything from me. So that obj.math will be giving some answer like hi. So if I compile, it will print 10 and high. You can see 10 and high is being printed because B is taking everything from the another class. So now if I proceed, we have the third thing like constructor. A class can have three things: variable, method, and constructor. And I'll be showing you all three example how it behaves with the in terms of inheritance. So let me introduce some constructor as well. So we know what is constructor. So I can simply write here system.out.println. Suppose I can write inside class A. So that same thing I can define for the class B as well. This time, if I write a constructor for class B and if I write inside class B, and now if I compile, so there is no major role a constructor have in this case. I will be showing you some critical examples of constructor in case of inheritance, but for the time being, it is just printing a print statement inside class A, inside class B. Very simple example. So if I compile it now, so first, as per my idea, means when I was a student, I thought actually I am creating the object of B. That's why only these statements too should be printed inside class B. But as it is extending A, as it is inheriting A, the constructor of superclass should also be printed. So now my confusion was like, okay, then first inside class B will be printed, then the class A will be printed. But again, as always, what I think, it comes like the opposite one. So in that case, in this case, actually, first the superclass constructor will be printed, then the subclass. So what exactly happened when you are calling the constructor or when you are calling the object, it first check really the superclass exists or not, and superclass has the more power actually. So it goes to superclass constructor, first run this, then it run the subclass constructor. So it first check superclass really exists or not. If it exists, it runs it constructor, then the subclass constructor will be printed. So in this case, first inside class A will be printed. That is the first line that is going to be printed, the superclass constructor. Though it is not called anywhere, you cannot find a superclass constructor has been executed anywhere. But still, if you are calling an object, if you are creating an object of subclass, by default, automatically, superclass constructor will be first executed. First, it will check the superclass constructor, then it will come to the subclass constructor, and the rest of the things will be done. So you can see the behave. So here it is extending one variable from the class A, B class is extending. Then B class is extending or inheriting the method as well. It is taking the method as well. And also the constructor has been executed automatically as a first line. So first this inside class A will be printed. So just this is the gist of the topic one, how inheritance behaves. I saw many people are giving some example of prime number, these and these and these many things. So I will say like nothing is needed. Just explain everything with the using a simple examples. So topic two is overriding. So what is overriding? Overriding is something, suppose now if the confusion will arise, okay, let me delete, okay, let me copy this and delete the code, delete the constructor. So let me copy that, because constructor, I know you are not feeling good with the constructor. Even I was not when I was a student. So let me also delete this one. So now here, what I can do, the confusion will arise when it is again a simple program like the first one. Confusion will arise when we have another x defined in this class. We might have two variables, y suppose 50 and x equals to 20, but still the confusion will come with this x. So if I am printing any obj.x, what should be print? So the own version of class B, that is x equals to 20, or the version or the x that has been theft from class A. So what is going to be printed in this line obj.x? Will it be its own x value or the value or the x that has been taken from class A? So here actually x, the value of x 20 will be printed. So it will be called like overriding. We do something like override, like on the top of 10 we write 20. So that is being called as overriding. So the value of x, if x equals to 20 is not there, if x is 20 not there, if I print, it will always print the value of 10. But now on the top of the theft value, if you write another x inside the subclass, it is going to print its own value, that is 20. And that is being called as an overriding. And I can guarantee you, whoever is following this class, the high chances you will face this question, what is overriding, in your interview or in your viva, in your theoretical question paper, you will be going to face that. So that is being called as a variable overriding. Okay, variable overriding. So it is one of the important questions. So overriding data members and the function I will be going to show you. Sorry, overriding data members and functions only. So I can override the functions as well. So let me introduce that function, void math system.high println high. So if I create another function here, void math, and I will be printing like hello. If I compile and if I run obj.math, sorry, I have to clear the comment section. So if I run obj.math, it should print the hello one. It should print its own version because both the functions are having the name like math. So it is going to print its own version and it is hello. And I am using very simple example, you can see. So if I run, you are going to see the version of its own class. Like the B class version will be printed, that is 20 and hello. 10 and high will not going to print. So that's the thing, that is the overriding. We can override the superclass version of variable and function, and it will print the own class version. So that is called overriding. Okay, very simple topic. Do not need to give any tough examples. So you know what is overloading. We have learned what is overloading during the class of function. You can just go through that class of function. So the most important question, I will put that in star, multiple star, because that is the most popular question, overloading versus overriding. And I'm sure every one of you will get this question somewhere. And there is something important actually. So now if I come to the topic, three small topics today we'll be discussing. So accessing superclass feature. So now if I go to the program and suppose, let me delete this obj.x from here, or let it be there. Let me comment it out. So now if I print something like high plus x, let me give the value of x. And here as well, let me give the value of x. If I compile and if I run this, it is going to print obviously hello 20. If I run obj, if I just call obj.math, it should simply print hello 20 because it will be overridden both the method and the variable. Both will show the newer version. So it is going to print hello 20. But if you wish to see the superclass version, that is x equals to 10. So in case of variable, you have to write super.x. So if you just write super dot the variable name, you can see the version 10. That is the superclass version. You will not be able to see its own version. 20 you will not be able to see. You will be able to see super.x, that is 10. Let me show you. If I run, the method will be overridden. Method will be showing you the hello, but the variable, you can see the previous one, that is hello 10. Very simple. If you are not able to understand, just repeat the part. Just listen it once again. So nothing more I have to explain actually. So it will just print the superclass version. So super keyword, the use of super keyword is it shows the older version. That is the superclass version. Now, if I, in between this void math or in between this class, if I somehow write super.math, means same. In case of method, again, I have to add this keyword super.math. So it will show me the superclass version method in this class. Means it will just going to print high 10. So what will happen? From here, I am calling obj.math. So math means obviously it will be overridden. This math version will be printed. And inside this math version, I'm trying to call super.math. So it is going to print high 10. So high 10 will be the first answer that will be printed into the output screen. And after that, hello 10 will be printed. So super keyword is basically again being used to fetch the superclass version, the older version. So by this line, hi 10 will be printed, and by this line, hello 10 will be printed. So that's the thing. So let me show you how it behaves. So super, if you put super in front of any function, or you can see hi 10 and hello 10 is being printed. So super class can be, you can put it before variable and before method, and by which you can see the superclass version. It is also written access the following features of the superclass. Just put the super dot in front of variables and in front of method. But how constructor behaves, let me show you. So if I write something b obj new b, okay, another thing, some people might think like if I write something obj dot super dot obj dot math, or if I write something obj dot super dot math, can I see directly this one? Can I directly see I to be printed, or this method should be printed? It is no, because all of these things we are writing inside inherit demo class, and we do not have any superclass of this inherit demo class. In this program we have three classes: class A, that is superclass with respect to class B. Class B is a subclass, but inherit demo class is alone. We do not have any superclass of that. So if I write super in the scope of inherit demo, it will try to find some superclass with respect to inherit demo. So this super will not going to work here. If you write super inside class B, then it will always find the details of class A, because class A is the super to class B. But if you write something inside class A, so it will be an error, because class A is not extending anyone. Class A itself is a superclass. So that's the thing. So if you have any questions regarding this, because I do not have much thing to show, because it is quite simple. People makes it tough, but it is really quite simple. If you have any question, just let me know in the comment section. So now that's the thing. What was I was trying to do? Okay, I'll be putting some values. Suppose I'm not doing method overriding. We have a pretty much, okay, let me delete all these things. Let me make it very simple. So I have some variable x, and here I have some variable y. I will just pass some value from here, and I'm going to print them. So system dot, okay, I'll be passing 10 and 20, and I want to assign x equals to 10 and y equals to 20, suppose. So how it will behave? So here in class B, I have to create a constructor. And obviously that constructor will be parameterized. We have done the same thing. If you are feeling we are doing it for the first time, so just try to remember our previous class. If you have checked that, we have given some parameter to constructor when we are taking the input of name and balance. You can remember, I have created some objects where I have taken the input of the name at the time of creation of that object. When someone is coming to create their account, or when someone is coming to create their object, the name and the balance, initial balance, is mandatory to give. If anyone wants to skip, we are not going to create their account. So the same thing, we have already done that, and I will always take an reference to that class one, that is class and object, because that was the main concept we have tried to build on that class. So here again, I'm trying to take two input, suppose xx and int yy, just to make it easier for you to remember. So xx, the value will be going to the value x, variable x, and yy, that value is going to be assigned with the variable y. So I have taken it very in a simple way. So I will assign x equals to, okay, I will assign y equals to yy here. And I need to pass that to this superclass as well. So in superclass, I will define a constructor, and that can be written using super keyword. Just write, okay, sorry, just write a here, and it will take only one input, like int xx. And I will assign it like x equals to xx. And here, if I want to pass that value to the superclass, I need to write super xx. So what I'm doing, what basically I'm doing, I'm taking 10 and 20 input here. So 10, I'm planning to assign it to X, and 20, I'm planning to assign it to 20, I'm planning to assign it to Y. So it is same like when in the bank class I was creating a new object, a new bank account with the initial input like name and balance. Two inputs I was taking at that class. Here as well, I'm taking those two parameter XX and YY. So what I'm doing, I'm assigning YY to variable Y, and I'm calling the superclass constructor explicitly with one value. And superclass constructor is pretty much okay. He's taking one variable, one value, and assigning to X. It is pretty much simple. It is taking one value and assigning to the variable X. Pretty much simple. So I'm just trying to call superclass constructor, but I'm getting some error. Because I'm getting this error, the reason is only one. Like the superclass call should always be at the first line of this constructor. It should not be the second line. So if you want to call the superclass, it has to be in the first line. Now, if I do, it will work out. If I compile, it will be successfully compiled. Again, let me explain once again. I'm passing 10 and 20. Both the values are being received by the B class constructor. So it is again calling the superclass constructor explicitly. I have shown you just few minutes back inside class A that was being printed automatically and as a first line in that program. But so that's why if I want to call now that superclass constructor explicitly, then we need to put it in the first line. It has to be always in the first line because superclass is always in the priority. So now if I push that value to the superclass constructor just by writing the super keyword here, so it will simply call this constructor. It will take only one value and assign that. So now if I print obj.x and obj.y one back to back, so it will going to print the values because that values has been passed to desired places. So if I run, it should print 10 and 20 accordingly. You can see because the value has been passed to the correct place. Okay, so that is the use of superclass. And also an important interview question, what is the use of super? So super has three use. In case of variable, it shows the version of the superclass variable, value of the superclass variable. In case of method, if you write super.method, it calls the superclass version of that method, means the older version. And if you write construct, if you want to use that in case of constructor, so if you want to call the superclass constructor, you just need to write super as a first line inside the subclass constructor. So these are the superclass features. That's all. Simply, I have not used any complicated program. I have just used x equals to 10, y equals to 20. That's all. And it says everything. Okay. So just practice all of those things because all of these concepts are new. If you feel like, okay, you are overloaded, you are already known many things. So just pause the class here, take a break, and then again come. So topic 4, it is easier one. It is just a concept, theoretical concept. So how many types of inheritance exist? So there can be many things. So we have used the single inheritance. If you can see my cursor, we have used the single inheritance where one class is extending another. That we have done, single inheritance. So class B is extending class A. So now here we can also work with hierarchical inheritance as well, where class A can be called by different classes. So let me show you some examples and let me make the program very simple. Let me delete all these constructors. Let it be very simple. Let me delete Y as well. So class B extend A. So I will create another subclass. So it might be C, class C, that will also extend A, and class D as well. So I will try to create the picture like program. Here in the picture as well, you can see class A, class B, C, and D in the hierarchical inheritance, it is extending A. So I'll be doing the same thing. It can happen in reality as well. I am showing you that example. So in the similar way, I have created the object of B I can create the object of C and D class as well. So let me do that quickly. C class object and here D class object, and I can call obj, sorry, the name will be changed. Some first object will be obj1, then obj2, then obj3, and I can call all of them, and I want to print the variable x because all of them will be taking the help of superclass, that is class A, and all of them are taking the values and the details of class A. So this is an example of hierarchical inheritance. So that exists in Java. So single inheritance and hierarchical inheritance we have checked. It is very simple. We can also have something like multiple inheritance where class A will be extended by class B and class B will be extended by class C. So that is quite possible. Even you can do that. If I do not explain what is happening, it is pretty much simple. Even you can explain. So what is happening? So class A is being extended by B and class C will extend A. Class C will extend B in this case. So now if I define a class of C only, it will be able to represent the details of class A even. Let me show you the example. Here it is. So class C doesn't have anything. Class C is extending B and B is extending A. So that means class C will also be able to fetch the details of X. So if I put X equals to 10 here, and if I run this obj.x, it should print the value of 10. And obj is basically the object of C. So, but by the property of inheritance, C will be able to fetch everything of B and B will be able to fetch everything of A, so that it should print 10. You can see, and it is being called as an hierarchical inheritance, you can see. And one common question comes in this case. So class B is a superclass or subclass? So class B is a superclass in with a reference of with respect to class C, and it is a subclass with respect to class A. With respect to class A. So the class B is a superclass and subclass both. Okay, so that is being called as a multi-level inheritance. Okay, so now if I want to check with the multiple inheritance, that thing. So if I try to write that code, multiple inheritance. So multiple inheritance means class A will be holding some value. Let me delete all this thing. So class A will be holding some value. Class B will also holding some value like int y. Let me give you a very simple example. There is no meaning to write the tough examples, but most of the people do that kind of tough example during interview. I have checked, means it is a first-hand experience. So class C, if I write extends A and B, and if I try to compile, it is giving such error because multiple inheritance doesn't exist in Java. And that is a big question. That is a big question in the interview. So 6, I will write type of inheritance they ask. So never ever mention that multiple inheritance thing. So they might ask, what is multiple inheritance? And is it allowed in Java? All the type of inheritance is allowed in Java. You have to say no. In Java, multiple inheritance is not allowed. Because in Java, you cannot extend 2 superclasses. One class cannot extend 2 classes. And that is why multiple inheritance is banned in Java. So that you need to keep in your mind. But yeah, in other languages like C++, like Python, you can do that. But in Java, the multiple inheritance is not allowed. So if I proceed, so you have to maintain that multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java. So it is not allowed. Now here in hybrid inheritance, you can also see class D is extending B and C. The upper part is okay. Class B can extend class A, class C can extend class A. It is something like hierarchical inheritance. But if you see the lower part, class D, if you concentrate on the class D, you can see class D is extending both B and C. And it is similar like the multiple inheritance. So again, hybrid inheritance is not allowed as well for that reason, because one class cannot inherit two superclasses. So here in Java, only three type of inheritance exist: single inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and multi-level inheritance. But globally, in general, five type of inheritance exist. But these two types of inheritance is not allowed in Java. That you need to remember. Okay. So that is the topic 4. And all of these questions are important for the interviews. So if I come to the topic 5, how to stop inheritance and overriding. So you have to use the use of final keyword. So it is another interview questions like what is final keyword? What is the use of that? So if I use final keyword, okay, let me write a very simple program once again. Class A and class B, and class B is trying to extend class A, and I'll be creating the object of B. It is a simple example, nothing logical, nothing is written probably. So I'm just going to print obj and obj from there. A very simple one. Even in some YouTube classes or in portal as well, I have seen many tough examples of this thing. But believe me, in my career over a decade, I have always presented these object concepts with those simple examples, and it was granted always. Okay, so that's the thing. So if I write this program is quite okay. You can see it is being compiled and it can print 10 and 20. 10 is being taken from the class A and 20 its own property of the class B. So if I create an object of class B and print X and Y, 10 and 20 will be printed smoothly. But now if I write final at the starting of class A, final stops the inheritance property of a class. It is written here, if I show the cursor, cannot inherit it from final A. So if you put final in front of a class, it stops inheritance. So in case of a class, if you put final, it stops the inheritance. So now what it happens for the function? In case of function, let me allow the inheritance and let me put a function like void math. Again, very simple one I will use, just system.out.println high. The simple one. Just try to remember those concepts, because if you want to means memorize this all things before the interview, it will be really painful. So if you understand those concepts, it will be easier. So just try to revise all of them one or twice, and try to write those programs by yourself, and you will never forget in your lifetime, believe me. But if you try to memorize that by checking uh, some portals or some definitions, it will be tough for you. So if I override void math, it is simply okay. Now from here, if I call obj.math, it will always print hello. We have already checked that at the slide of overriding. But if you write, okay, let me compile it. Let me show if it is working. Yeah, it is working fine. So now in front of function, if I put final, it stop overriding. You can see if I show the cursor here. So if I touch the cursor, it is showing math in B cannot overwrite math in A, because A is overridden method. Okay, so overridden method is a final. So it is a final method, so that you cannot extend that. So if you put final in front of a class, let me memorize you the summary once again. So if you put the final in front of a class, you cannot inherit that class. If you put final in front of a method, you cannot override that method. But what will happen in case of variable? So let me make them normal. Let me delete them if possible, or let it be there. Let it be there. So if I write final in front of the variable, what will happen? So most of the people answers like, if I make it X and let me delete Y, because Y is not needed anymore, I guess. Make it very simple. I do not want to increase the length of the program. I am very much concerned on that. So if I write X equals to 10 here, so many people says like we cannot override that variable. But variable with final has no relationship with inheritance. final keyword with variable doesn't have any link with this inheritance. So I should discard that part from this chapter, but then I thought, no, I should explain that here itself so that you can find the difference. So final index, what it does actually, if I try to write x plus plus, and if I compile, it will never be happen. Final keyword means it makes a variable constant. It makes a variable constant. So variable you cannot change. So that is the use of final keyword. So now here you can see these two variables. Here I can write x plus plus because it is a variable of class B. But the variable of class X, I cannot make it x plus plus because it is final. It is constant. The value is constant. That you need to remember. Again, if I tell you the summary, final, if we put final in front of a class, it stops inheritance. If I put final in front of a method, it stops overriding. If I put final in front of variable, it just make that variable constant and it has no relationship with the inheritance and all of its properties. So that is the use of final. Okay, so it has no relation with the int x equals to 20. I can increase x plus plus here inside class B, but inside class A, that version of that x cannot be incremented or cannot be changed because it is a final variable. Okay, so that's the thing. So you have to remember that. Most of the people forget and do some mistakes. So now it is a theoretical chapter, but again, I always try to give some assignments to you from these chapters, because if you do not practice everything in a practical way in a program, you will never be able to learn all those things. So I can suggest you, we have a pretty interesting group created. So if you go to that group, Binary World, and if you go to the media, so there you can find one album called ISC classes, ISC previous year's question. So you can practice all of them and you will find a keyword like concept of inheritance. You can find it here, concept of inheritance, and it is available generally in the section C or section C of all theory papers. So, and it is a class 12 question, so probably it will be easier for you. Sorry, I have opened some of CBSE questions. Sorry for that. If I go back and let me open the ISC part. It is where it is, ISC questions. Yeah, here it is, ISC theory previous year's question. If I open that, and if you can open any year, any random year, we have a couple of years written here. So if I open any random year, suppose this one, and I have to just go to section C. So it is section A, section B, I have to go to section C. Yeah, in section C, somewhere you will be able to find like concept of inheritance written. Where is that? Yeah, it is, I guess. Concept of, yeah, you can see in the question, it is written concept of inheritance at below. If you can check, if I highlight that, it is a question, concept of inheritance. So if you want to do some practical work after learning inheritance, you can refer to this album. So it is like concept of inheritance is written. So if you find that, that means it is the part of our assignments. So here, what it is explaining? It is explaining there will be a class called plane where we have few data members like x1, y1. Let me do that quickly. So I'll be just solving one out of them and the rest of the things you need to solve. So there will be a class plane. Okay, class plane. Whatever they are asking for, I'll be doing that. And we have something called int x1 and y1. And okay, let me delete everything. It is not needed anymore. We are done with the chapter. So it is saying it will be having a constructor like plane. Okay, P is capital. So let me do that, whatever it is asking. And it is a class 12 question. I think it will be easier. You feel easier in that part. Int nx and int ny will be the two parameters. Whatever they are saying, I am doing that. Int x ny and int ny. And it is saying it will be assigned to x1 and y1. So if I write x1 equals to nx and a y1 will be ny. So that's simple it is. And after that, it is showing that void show. There will be one function called void show, and it will display the coordinates. So I'll be doing the same here. So let me put a void. What is the name of that thing? It is void show. So if I write void show, just to display those two variables. So void show, just it is printing x coordinate and y coordinate. If I go back to here, so now it is saying like we need to define another class named circle, and where we will be having four different variables x2, y2, radius and area. Okay, let me create that one as well quickly. So the name of that class is circle. So let me create a class circle, and it is also probably saying that it will be extending the class plane. So that is written at the below. So it is saying, if you check the below, it is saying concept of inheritance space the class circle, and it will be extending the class plane. So I'll be doing that. So let me write class circle and let me put all those coordinate, all those variables. So yeah, we have taken all four variables. Now it is asking for creating one constructor, like parameterized constructor to initialize all those variables here. You can see that line, to parameterize constructor to assign values to the data member of the both the class. So let me do that now. Let me create a constructor of the circle class. So, okay, circle AC is in capital, and I have to write extends plane. Let me write something called uh, circle. Let me write that. So I have written the constructor here. You can see four variables we are receiving. So two of them will be passed to the superclass. And here, okay, I have made one mistake. It has to be x2. So x2 and y2 has been assigned here. I'm also assigning radius and area as 0, because that has to be calculated later probably. So let me check. So now circle, okay, it is now void find radius. It is asking for to calculate the length of radius using the formula. So it is just we need to use that formula, and it will be void find radius. So let me write that as well quickly. So without knowing the meaning of that calculation, probably it is a calculation of radius, but I forgot. So I'm just trying to write the code. So here x1 minus x2 or x2 minus x1 both are same, or y2 minus y1 whole square math.pow, and overall it is square root by 2, and I'm just printing the radius. That's all. That's what it is asking for. I have done that. I have printed the radius. Now it is asking for finding the area, and to find the area of a circle using formula pi r square, the value of pi is 22 point something. So I have to, okay, so here one catch is I have to put that value inside that radius variable. So I have defined something r, so that is not going to be there. It has to be radius. And here I will create another function that will be probably void uh, find area. So let me write that as well. And here I'll be trying to put inside the variable area, I'll be putting 3.14 into radius into radius. And I'm just going to print that as well. So I can write the area is, I can print it like area. That's all. So all of the functions has been printed. So okay, here I have to print radius. Yep. And the last of all, last not the least, it is void show. It is saying to display both the coordinates along with the length of the radius and the circle. So I have to print basically everything. So obviously in the previous class, I have printed void show. So I do not need to print that once again. I will be just calling them as super.show. I'll be just calling them. And here I'll be just printing the extra variable. That is the x2 coordinate. I'm going to print x2 and y coordinate y2. And here I will just print the radius and area. That's all. Radius is radius. And here I just want to print the area as area. So that's all it is asking for. That's all it is asking for. So if I compile, if I compile, it should be compiled in a good way. Yeah. and that it is asking for. Okay. So, okay, in here, actually find area and find radius, it is not telling me to print the radius and area. So I can skip the printing line from here. I can simply skip the printing lines. It is just asking for the calculation. So now what I can do in the main class, I can simply define like circle object, circle obj equals to new circle. That's all. And we need to call all of them like obj. Okay, I have to define some values. Let me give something 1, 2, 3, 4, some values with the parameters. And after that, I have to just call everything one by one. So first I will call find radius. The R probably starting from capital, probably. Let me check. Yeah, find radius and find area are with capital. So here I can write obj dot find area. And after that, I will be just printing obj dot show. So this show will automatically call this show because I have written here like super dot show. So if you practice this kind of question, it is very easy for made for the class 12 students. So it will be easier for you as well. Okay, I have used the concept of inheritance here, super dot show, and here as well. So it is a nice examples you can take on. So that's all probably we had in the chapter of inheritance, and it is interview wise, it is very important question. So all the details are here. If you face any challenges, any problems, just let me know. Either in the comment section, some moderators will be helping you. You will be getting the answers response by 24 hours, or if it is critical that cannot be written in the comment section, you can directly send a mail to me. And obviously, if we are doing the offline classes, so we can discuss all those things in our classes as well. So that's the thing. To get the quickest response, you just need to mention that in this comment section somewhere here with giving the codes as well. If you are not able to understand any particular code, or if it is not running, just paste that code as well. Okay, so that's all for the day. All the best, practice everything, and next day we will meet with some new topic. So bye for the day.